Continuing to imagine the 48 Laws of Power as a tool rather than a typical self-help guide, it's easy to see why this book has divided opinions so sharply. Instead of warm affirmations or advice about embracing humility, Robert Greene lays out a blueprint for wielding influence, often through manipulation, deceit, and calculated ruthlessness. It's a book that appeals to those seeking success in a dog-eat-dog world, where power isn't earned through merit or kindness, but by outmaneuvering opponents, concealing true intentions, and bending others to your will. The book outlines 48 specific laws, each one distilled from historical examples of leaders, monarchs, generals, and power brokers who have mastered the art of domination. Greene draws from a wide range of sources: Machiavelli, Sun Tzu, and even figures like Henry Kissinger to weave a narrative that suggests power is a game, and those who don't know the rules are bound to be crushed by those who do. The laws themselves are unapologetically ruthless. Take, for example, Law 3, conceal your intentions, or Law 15, crush your enemy totally. The language is stark, as if success is predicated solely on the ability to dominate others, viewing life as a zero-sum contest in which victory for one person necessarily entails defeat for another. Given its content, the 48 Laws of Power has drawn criticism from those who view it as a moral void, a handbook for manipulation rather than self-improvement. Many see it as a cynical and unethical approach to leadership, one that advocates for a Machiavellian mindset where the ends always justify the means. It has been banned in some U.S. prisons under the belief that it could incite dangerous behavior, suggesting that the book's message of cold-hearted ambition could be weaponized by those already predisposed to violence or criminal activity. Yet, for all its controversy, the 48 Laws of Power has earned a cult following among business moguls, politicians, and entertainers. Some readers find it to be a practical guide for navigating complex social and professional hierarchies, where power dynamics are often more nuanced than traditional leadership books admit. By exposing the undercurrents of manipulation and control that operate in any environment, Greene's book offers readers a sort of X-ray vision, allowing them to see through the facades of politeness and recognize the true forces at play. Jumping from the strategic to the spiritual, we move to another polarizing text, Mein Kampf, written by Adolf Hitler. Few books in modern history have had as profound and as devastating an impact as this one. Written while Hitler was imprisoned in 1923 after a failed coup attempt, Mein Kampf is part autobiography, part political manifesto, and wholly infused with the venomous ideologies that would later drive the Nazi regime and fuel the atrocities of the Holocaust. In this book, Hitler outlines his worldview, from his virulent anti-Semitism to his obsession with racial purity and his vision for a German empire that would dominate Europe. Mein Kampf serves as both a historical artifact and a chilling reminder of how the ideas contained within a book can manifest into devastating real-world consequences. It's an angry, paranoid, and hate-filled text that would likely have faded into obscurity had it not been for Hitler's eventual rise to power. The controversy surrounding Mein Kampf is not just about its content, but about its very existence. Even after Hitler's death, debates have raged about whether the book should be published, reprinted, or even studied at all. Some argue that suppressing it only increases its mystique, turning it into forbidden knowledge that attracts the curious or the hateful. Others believe that by keeping it in circulation, albeit often accompanied by critical annotations, it can be dissected and critiqued, allowing future generations to understand the depth of Hitler's evil and the importance of combating such ideologies. Many countries, including Germany, placed bans or restrictions on the book after World War II, fearing that its availability could reignite neo-Nazi movements. The state of Bavaria, which held the rights to the book after the war, refused to allow its reprinting for decades. It wasn't until the copyright expired in 2016 that an annotated version of Mein Kampf was published in Germany, filled with critical commentary meant to provide context and refute Hitler's twisted arguments. Though its historical significance is undeniable, Mein Kampf remains a deeply dangerous book. If we shift focus from political propaganda to philosophy, we encounter another book that has provoked fierce debate, Friedrich Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra. While not as outwardly incendiary as some of the other texts we've discussed, Nietzsche's philosophical work is one of the most challenging and misunderstood books of modern philosophy. Written in a poetic, often cryptic style, it tells the story of the prophet Zarathustra, who comes down from his mountain solitude to share his wisdom with humanity, advocating for a radical rethinking of morality, religion, and the human condition. At the heart of the book is Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or overman, a figure who transcends traditional moralities and creates new values in a world where God is dead. This declaration that God is no longer relevant in the lives of modern humans was one of the most shocking statements in Western philosophy at the time. Nietzsche wasn't advocating for atheism in the conventional sense, but rather proclaiming that the moral frameworks and religious institutions that had once guided humanity were now obsolete, and that individuals must forge their own path in a chaotic, indifferent universe. Thus Spoke Zarathustra is often seen as a work that celebrates individualism and the pursuit of personal greatness, but its language has been co-opted and misinterpreted by various extremist ideologies over the years. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, for example, was later twisted by the Nazis to justify their ideas of Aryan supremacy, even though Nietzsche himself was staunchly opposed to nationalism and anti-Semitism. The philosopher's sister, Elisabeth Förster Nietzsche, was instrumental in promoting these distorted readings of his work after his death, further complicating his legacy. Today, Thus Spoke Zarathustra remains a philosophical lightning rod. It challenges readers to question their assumptions about morality, power, and existence itself, but its open-endedness has left it vulnerable to misinterpretation. Some see it as an empowering call to rise above mediocrity, while others view it as a dangerous rejection of all moral constraints. Returning to more contemporary works, we arrive at Bret Easton Ellis's American Psycho. This novel, published in 1991, instantly became one of the most controversial books of the 20th century. It tells the story of Patrick Bateman, a wealthy, successful Wall Street executive who moonlights as a brutal, psychopathic killer. Ellis's novel is a violent, darkly satirical portrait of the excesses of the 1980s, and it spares no detail in depicting Bateman's horrific crimes, which include graphic scenes of torture, murder, and sexual violence. The backlash against American Psycho was swift. The book was banned in several countries, and many stores refused to stock it due to its explicit content. Feminist groups were particularly vocal in their criticism, accusing Ellis of misogyny for the novel's portrayal of extreme violence against women. In response, Ellis argued that the book was a critique of the dehumanizing effects of capitalism, consumerism, and the superficiality of the culture it portrays. For him, Bateman was a symbol of a society gone morally bankrupt, where human life had become just another commodity to be bought, sold, or discarded. Despite, or perhaps because of its notoriety, American Psycho has since become a cult classic, with many readers appreciating it as a darkly comedic satire rather than a mere catalog of violence. Its themes of alienation, identity, and the hollowness of material success continue to resonate, and the book's shocking content has cemented its place in the pantheon of controversial literature. Ultimately, these infamous books are powerful reminders of the impact that words can have on society. Each of these works challenges, disturbs, or offends in ways that have sparked debates about censorship, morality, and the nature of free expression. Whether they are banned, studied, reviled, or revered, they continue to provoke strong reactions, ensuring their place in the annals of controversial literature.